Hi everyone, and welcome to Talking Smack, hosted by Samuel Bradford. And here we have Ryan Chiavassa and special guest of the day, myself, the one and only Callum J. Bradford. Here to take you through all that's going on the last couple of weeks in everything football, Champions League, Europa League, and the one and only Premier League. Sign up today. That's it. Hit that button. Hit that subscribe button. Go.
Jump into the Champions League, Europa League, and the Europa Conference League because it returned over the week. So last season of the Champions League current format with group stages. Next season will be a new league table with 2 extra teams. Potentially English Premier League will be having 5 teams instead of 4. So what do you boys think of that? Do you know much about the new format?
New format, yeah. So top 8 teams automatically go through, then the bottom. Then the next bunch will play off, and then there'll be knockouts. So I think instead of having 8 games, there's 10 games. So that's 2 more games. So I think overall, it goes from like 129 games up to like 150 something games for the entire competition. Yeah. So a little bit more revenue for the Champions League, which will ideally be spread around. But yeah, it's kind of something that they've introduced to try and compete, I guess, with the format of the Super League.
That was probably,
kind of counteract that. I don't know where it was going to be more interesting. I do like the group stages. I think they kind of have like a bit of, a bit of... it's kind of like, that whole like dreading or like relief depending on what group you get into, like whether you're Newcastle and you get
a group of death
and Manchester City. Yeah, there's always like a group of death. But I feel like, when there's teams like Manchester City who sometimes always get an easy group.
To be fair though, they win the Premier League, and if you finish top of your division, you get an easier draw. I think that's like you get put in a different pot.
They're still doing the pots though.
Yeah.
For next season, but I'm not sure whether that's like how that's gonna actually work in terms of what the draw is gonna be like. I'm open to seeing how it goes.
So when it comes to the knockout stages after the new format comes in, will there still be around 16?
Well, yeah. So the first 8 teams will go through and they're safe, and then the teams that don't finish in the top 8 will play off.
Be like 9th first,
and then they'll play off, and then the winners from that playoff will then form the round of 16. So it'll be 8 v 8.
So it kind of stops as well how if you finish 3rd in the Champions League, you drop down the Europa. If you finish 3rd in Europa, you drop down the Conference League. I don't mind a change. The only thing that I hate is how they try to expand the Champions League. They give an extra spot to England. Why don't they give an extra spot to like another lower league team in Europe, so you can see more expansion instead of them finishing top of the division, say in Romania or something like that.
Estonia
and then they have to go through 4 rounds of qualification to get into it. I think if they say they're going to expand it, give an actual automatic spot to another smaller nation to an extent.
I think the argument of having an English team is because they're the best league in the world and they've got more.
It's got to attract.
It comes down to the money. So
exactly.
The English teams are wanting to protect their investment in terms of like how many positions they get and what's the guarantee. Can they have a bad season? And then like a lot of them are kind of highly strung in terms of like what they can spend in terms of turnover. So like being knocked out of Champions League is like pretty detrimental to like how much money you can spend. So having that kind of safety net, and it's kind of what they've been arguing for. Because otherwise, essentially, if the Premier League can say some of the Italian clubs wanted to break away, they'd probably have enough audience to like kind of threaten it. So they're kind of giving the extra spot essentially to like it's performance based, right? So it's like whatever league has the most teams progress through the competition is going to get a spot for like acknowledging that they did well, and one of them can come back. But essentially, because of the money that's involved in the English game, it's probably always going to be an English club.
Yeah,
and then the other spot will probably bounce around between Italy, Spain, and perhaps...
At the end of the day, it all comes down to money. And it is mixed opinions on the new format, because a lot of people do like the group stages and having like an entertaining group of death. So it will be interesting seeing the new format.
And then there's upsets like Barcelona getting knocked out last year.
Yeah, well, they went... Yeah. They went down
third,
and then Europa, and then they got knocked out by Man United.
Yeah, but there'll be no dropping down. So once you're out, you're out.
Yeah.
Which that would stop Sevilla winning so many trophies, because they win the Europa League, get knocked out around. They'll finish 3rd, win the Europa League, and they did that season after season through the.
Yeah, they were in the Champions League again because they beat. They won Europa, didn't they?
Roma.
But Roma, didn't they? Yeah. So we'll jump into the games though. So group of death. How do you reckon Newcastle will go after 20 years out of the Champions League? playing Milan, AC Milan, PSG and Dortmund.
It's a hard group, but I feel like they will relatively do well. They'll finish third or second.
Well,
I don't see them finish bottom.
Pope went. He was a brilliant keeper against AC Milan over in Italy. Is he the real Pope? Nick Pope. Because Vatican City, who knows, mate. Nick Pope might come in. But anyway, AC Milan had like 25 chances.
They lost 5-1 to Inter Milan a few days before that as well, Milan. So I feel like Milan's isn't going to be...
Giroud. He's been around. He had that many chances.
I feel like they're not going to be as a massive threat as what people think. But PSG, you would think, will comfortably finish first. It's going to be a death race for that second and third spot.
Dortmund aren't in great
Dortmund haven't started great. They're still kind of missing Jude Bellingham. I think Newcastle, their home games are going to be really important. I think going away, getting a point in Milan, getting a point in Paris, getting a point in Dortmund, they'd be happy with, if you offered them at the start of the season a draw in each of those places, and then like a strong home performance. I think they'd probably take that because they'll try and at least beat Milan, at least beat Dortmund at home, and then if they can secure some draws, I think that's their kind of. I feel like their path. What path they'd probably try to pick.
Well, if they lose the next 2 away games and win all the home games, that's 10 points. That would finish second.
12 is what you kind of need.
Yeah,
essentially.
12 is guaranteed.
Only one team's ever not made it through on 12.
Who's that?
That was Napoli.
Really?
Yeah, I think Arsenal, someone else all had 12 points in
goal difference, was it?
And come down a goal difference.
Yeah, there you go.
Because there was one shitty team that just got smashed.
There always is one. Arsenal. So pretty impressive first win against PSV.
Comprehensive.
Yeah, 28 games unbeaten PSV as well, something like that. That's a ridiculous run.
12 games. 12 games. Last 12 games in the.
Yeah. We had them in the Europa League group last year, and we struggled to beat them. So having the turnaround of like same squad, pretty much minor changes, but like that's probably the most complete performance I've seen Arsenal do this season so far.
Hands down.
Like first half it was like all over. Like in the second half, bringing on the B team.
So who do you reckon will top your group? Because it's an interesting mix though. PSV, they are strong. They're also the other giant.
Sevilla and who else? Sorry,
Sevilla and who was the other team? Forgotten. They drew. Sevilla and.
Quickly get it up.
Yeah, I'm completely blanking.
Where's your form mob? Yeah.
Sevilla played.
We'll just cut this part until we get it up.
Keep it in. We'll find us a few things. That's fine. Who is it? Throw a guess out there.
I actually can't remember who it is.
It's not Porto.
I'm fully blanking.
It's not Porto. It might be.
To be honest,
Lens, yeah. Sorry, French.
French.
So they finished second in France. I think that's kind of were relatively able to keep most of their squad together.
I think Group A is an interesting group.
I feel like Arsenal, if Arsenal doesn't top that group, that's questions.
Yeah. We should.
Because PSV is probably the second best team in that group, and we dismantled them. Sevilla's been very shit in the last season.
Well, they picked up Sergio Ramos, going back to his home team.
36-year-old. Yeah, it's still good, but I reckon they're hoping it's like what Thiago Silva was when he joined Chelsea, 38, and he's been brilliant for Chelsea the past few seasons.
So we got I reckon Champions League this season's gonna be interesting. Group A is pretty interesting with Bayern Munich, Copenhagen, Galatasaray, and Man United.
Yeah, so
Man United got absolutely thumped by.
Yeah, the 4-3 scoreline does not reflect on what actually happened in that game.
First 20 minutes, Man United was solid, and then Bayern weren't even that solid, to be honest.
No, they were.
But they ended up speeding them anyway. So it kind of shows you the quality of Bayern at the moment.
Yeah, big win for Bayern. I needed that. They're actually undefeated in the group stages for like 36 games or something.
Yeah, they were impressive under Nagelsmann last season. He basically was 8 wins in 8 games.
Breaking news of him, he just been announced as the German coach.
Yeah, new German manager.
Popped decline.
Yeah, well,
he's German manager.
He said in a press conference that I wasn't drugged or forced to sign a contract with Liverpool, but I did, and that's why I'm not going to Germany, because he's got a job to do in
the German
Liverpool.
FA wouldn't want to pay his contract anyway.
Yeah,
millions
exactly. But yeah, I think Group F is obviously the group of death with PSG, Newcastle, Milan and Dortmund. Arsenal probably top their group with Lens, Sevilla and Eindhoven, PSV Eindhoven, and then Bayern should be comfy in Group A.
Which is good.
Group C is interesting with Napoli, Real Madrid, Braga and Union Berlin.
Yeah.
And
Jude Bellingham as well. Let's just
Man City's group, I think, of course, they get an easy group. They've got RB Leipzig, which is probably the second top team.
Yeah, but they thump them every time they verse them.
Savinha Zaveda, I think is how you pronounce it. It's other team, and Young Boys. So, interesting group. And then you got Group H, which is Barcelona, FC Porto, Shakhtar Donetsk, and
Antwerp.
Yeah, Royal Antwerp.
Which Barcelona thumped 5.
So, yeah, that's kind of the Champions League. We'll jump into the Europa League.
The better competition.
The better competition. So, yeah, Liverpool and West Ham, of course, in it. Brighton played their first ever Europa Comp and unfortunately lost at home at Amex. And they, yeah. 4-3. No, 4-2. No, 3-2.
3-2.
So,
yeah, 2 penalties.
João Pedro scored 2 penalties. So, yeah. Lewis Dunk was injured with a knock or something like that. So, the captain, who's normally solid at the back, he's pretty strong there. How do you reckon West Ham's going to go?
We'll get through the group stage. Whether it's first or second, I feel very comfortable. Freiburg from Germany, I feel like is our only set. Olympiacos usually does do a surprise win or two there. The other team never heard of. We bet them 3-1. They did score the first goal early in the second half, which gave me a bit of a fright, but it just shows that teams that we should be beaten, we can hold the game, get a bunch of possession, and be very comfortable and not let them one.
Do you know much about other teams in your group? Because obviously
Freiburg
Olympiacos
hasn't been playing
solid.
too bad in the Germans League. We picked the last couple of years.
Who's the German team?
Freiburg.
Yeah, they're kind of like Crystal Palace, your Brighton, your Brentford.
Solid mid-table team.
Solid mid-table team the past few seasons. Olympiacos is like they dominate the Greek league.
And TSC Bakar Topole.
Yeah,
he's from Serbia.
Yeah, so I don't know anything about them. Like I said, we had a comfortable 3-1 win. The only goal we conceded was a mistake with Ogbonga out back, and it was a 1-on-1 with the keeper. So you can't argue too much about that. Besides the terrible keeper, but yeah, we should slide through. Whether who will get in the round of 16, that's the thing that's going to be interesting. But
round of 32.
If we finish top, we should.
It's funny how Champions League goes to round of 16 straight away, but Europa League goes to round of 32 because you've got all the third place.
Yeah, so if we finish
Champions
first,
League,
we'll obviously go through straight to the round of 16. That's just who we've got to be versed in that. But if you get teams like your Liverpool and other teams that finish first as well in their group, we won't be seeing them into the quarters or semis. So.
Well, you're Group B, which is an interesting group. You've got AEK, Athens, Marseille, Ajax and Brighton. Do you reckon that's a group of death of Europa League?
I'd have to say so.
Yeah.
But I feel like with the Europa League and Conference League, a lot of them are group of death because they're pretty average, decent opponents against each other.
Yeah. Liverpool's, we've got a pretty... we should be... I think Liverpool ranked as favourites of the Europa League this season. We're having Liverpool in Group E. This is Toulouse, I think that's how you pronounce it.
Toulouse, they're French, aren't
Toulouse.
Yeah.
Union Saint Gillios.
They're German?
They're Belgium.
Belgium, sorry.
Yep.
So
that's where McAllister... So, Alexis McAllister, Liverpool
they're
player.
owned by Brighton. That Union team.
Yeah.
So they're like their
multi-club model.
sister club.
So before people come to play for Brighton, they send them there.
Yep.
And then they can get a work visa easier after playing in Belgium to come to England.
Yeah.
So if
wicked.
So
it's funny because
it's how their blood. A lot of their players, like Caicedo, played there for a bit.
Yeah.
And they bought them when they were like the second or third division, and then they won the Belgium league last year. So it just goes to show you that how crazy the Brighton model is and how well what they do.
That's awesome.
Their data system's unreal on how do they recruit players. But it's funny. Union Saint Gillios, I think that's how you pronounce it, has Alex McAllister's brother, Kevin McAllister. Mm-hmm. He plays right back, like right wing back kind of thing.
It'd be cool to see those two.
So it's going to be great to see them play off. And there's also Lask, who's the fourth team, who are an Austrian team who Liverpool beat 3-1 after going down 1-0. So it was good to see. And then there's a few others. Random groups with a bunch of teams I haven't heard at all.
That's the Europa League for you.
Yeah,
right?
but so anyway, Europa League's kicked off, Champions League's kicked off, and the Conference League kicked off. Who's Aston Villa?
They lost as well, didn't they?
Aston Villa, they
3-2.
Yeah, lost 3-2.
To the
Ligo,
team. Yeah.
What?
They have a sick home. They have a
Warsaw,
sick home fan base.
Yeah,
they are unreal. Considering they get battered in the Champions League every time they're in there, they have that unreal support. They would be one of the teams to watch out for, I reckon. In the Conference League for sure.
So Conference League's always interesting because now, since West Ham won last season, has shown that I think English should set the bar of always kind of getting into semi-finals to quarter-finals. It should be a kind of requirement, I think, for English being the top league and Premier League.
Yeah.
Well, for a while there, I think between 2010 and maybe 2014, roughly around there, probably a little bit later. Leicester were the first English team to make it through the quarterfinals for ages. Every English team was getting knocked out of the round of 16, and then Leicester won the Champions League and then got through the quarters.
Aston Villa this season probably spent more of the transfer window than the entire Conference League put together.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it's crazy.
They should be doing well. So,
Well, it's just like West Ham last season. You wouldn't expect anything else at the finalist minimum.
Well, West Ham probably spent more money than 90% of the Europa League teams put together.
So is there anything?
We probably got a lot more money in from selling one player than all those players.
Is there anything else you guys want to cover about Europe? Kicking off. It's good to be back. That's the main
Good to be
thing.
back. Looking forward to the fucking...
Yeah, you've had a bit of an absence from the Champions League.
8 or 7 years, yeah.
So, Newcastle 20 years, and I think
7 or 8 for us.
Arsenal.
I really hope Bayern.
2017, I think, was the last time. Maybe.
I think it was 10. I don't think it was 10 years. I think it was 7 or 8 years.
2017.
Got slapped by Bayern.
Well, we always got slapped by Bayern.
Yeah, round of 16.
That was the issue. We got them 5 times in a row.
Yeah.
And if we didn't get them, we got in peak AC Milan or something.
So anyway, that's Champions League returns plus Europa League and the Europa Conference. So looking forward to seeing how that progresses throughout. We'll do updates, I reckon, throughout the season because it is obviously the top Europe thing and everyone pays attention and it's most exciting. So next we'll